John, in your book, You Inc., you say that anyone can succeed in real estate. Even in this environment, do you think someone can succeed?
I think so, Kevin. I think if you take the right approach, these are the best times of all, because a lot of your competitors drop off. A lot of people start fearing the economy and start focusing on things that are sort of, I think, irrelevant to them. Like, what did the Dow Jones do last night? What's happening? What's the headline in the newspapers? So I think these are actually better times than ever, albeit we're probably at the end of the GFC, to be honest, but I think right through the GFC, we've had an outstanding opportunity for people to grow their businesses, probably better than any other time in history. Mindset's
pretty important, isn't it? Do you think blocking out a lot of those external influences that really we can do nothing about anyway is a good way to go?
Yeah, mindset is the key thing, positive attitude. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a sales agent or a support person, your number one thing is to stay positive and just keep your mindset on the things that you can control. So my view is I actually block out all media that has a negative potential impact on me. I focus on things where I can control the input. I get a lot of information from Twitter, for example, because I subscribe to people. So my view is you've got to be very careful about what you let into your head. You watch the 6 o'clock news tonight, 30 stories, 29 negative stories. So you've got to ask yourself, is that the right way to condition your mind to the end of the day before you go to sleep? I think there are better ways.
John, what's your definition of success?
I think success it's got to be measured. I think most people today, Kevin, are better at it in a balanced fashion. So I think it's what makes you feel happy and delighted and do you feel grows you? And if you're clear about that, and having a successful business, I mean, I'm all for success and the prosperity and the financial freedom it can bring people. I think that's real and that's important. It's certainly not the most important. I think, what's critical is health, what's critical is relationships, what's critical is a sense of contribution and connection. What's critical is making a difference. Now, a business can help you do all of those things, but you've got to be clear about what are the things that you really want to deliver in your life.
I often wonder, I walk into an office where someone's doing extremely well and someone sitting beside them, same opportunities, is really struggling. Why is that?
Well, I think, as we said before, it comes down to the individual and the individual's mindset. There's only two things that separate people, I think, two major things. One is their skill and one is their attitude. We often call it skill and will. So 0 to 10, what's your skill level? 0 to 10, what's your attitude level? You'll find the same person, the fact that they're sitting in the same brand, often working the same community with the same opportunities, and yet someone's bringing in $1 million in revenue for the business and someone's bringing in 100,000. If you were to interview them, the 100,000 person will start with excuses. Well, it's GFC, Kevin, haven't you heard about it? This is really tough, and I've got a small community, and I've just started in real estate. They'll have this proliferation of excuses as to why they're not. If you can get a chance to speak to the $1 million earner, but it's probably going to be hard because they're going to be focused and undistracted. But they're going to tell you, well, like a great opportunity, and I love helping people, and I work hard, and I've got a great organisation, I've got a great plan, I've got a great team, and I've developed my skills, and I'm ongoing learning, and every single day I'm filling my mind with positive. They're going to have a much better plan. So number one is get rid of your excuses. If you're not performing at a level that you know you could be or you should be, just drop the excuses and then start doing what the successful people are doing.
John, what suggestions would you have for someone who's in a slump? How can they get out of that?
Well, first thing, is remove negative influences. That can be people, that can be information, that can be input, that can be a whole range of things. So second thing is appreciate what we have. I mean, here we are living in the lucky country in what I think are fabulous times with more technology and more tools and the internet and things available to us than ever before to help us grow our business, grow ourselves. I mean, there used to be a time where you had to be wealthy to be well educated. Now you've just got to have an internet connection. And you can get onto YouTube and you get on the internet and you find any answer and interviews with famous people. So be appreciative, inspire yourself. I read quotes every day. I have apps on my phone that have little daily quotes. So it's do things that make you feel good, because I often wake up, not often, but occasionally I'll wake up and I've had a bad day yesterday and maybe my subconscious was working on overnight and I'm feeling a bit flat in the morning, and then I'll go onto Twitter and there'll be there'll be a quote there that talks about, the importance of, moving through challenges and getting to the other side and making you a better person. And that resets it in my mind, or shifts my paradigm back to where it should be. So I think you've got to inspire yourself. And the last one is not only remove negative people from your life, but include positive people. And sometimes you can do it face to face, occasionally if you know some people around you. Sometimes you can do it through things like your programs, audio programs, video programs, that are bringing you in touch with people. A lot of the people that I guess have in some ways mentored me, I've never met. but I've watched them. Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs example. I've watched video after video, I've read book after book, even though I never had the pleasure of meeting him. His philosophies were accessible to me. And I think that's really important. The philosophy and the teachings of great people are accessible to all of us.
John, I've heard you talk about an inbuilt success thermostat. What does that really mean? What does it mean to you?
So in essence, the success thermostat for me is you can achieve anything you want if you set your mind to it and you believe it. The problem is most people set something which is eminently achievable and it's not a great stretch because it's easy and because they, without stretching their belief system too much, they say, well, I can do 2 sales a month, no problem. Well, the problem is what if you could do 12 sales a month, but you never gave yourself the opportunity? So my question is, are you stretching yourself enough? Are you expecting enough? Because you will probably deliver what you set your subconscious as an expectation, not much more. So I'm all for, now, I'm not saying stretch it to a point where it's unbelievable for you. Can I run the 100 metres in 9 seconds? No, I can't. I don't believe that's a possibility. Could I be the world's best real estate salesperson or office? Yeah, I think I can. So, you've got to actually be able to connect with that. The problem is a lot of people have really they've down-traded there and they've shortchanged themselves so much on their goals. It's like turn up and you can hit it. That's not exciting for me. No wonder people burn out.
John, someone watching this right now, what steps can they take to improve their outcomes? What can they do right now?
Well, I think reality check of where you are and own your current reality. So don't say you're only doing 2 sales a month because the GFC. Just say you're only doing 2 sales a month because that's actually what you're doing in terms of your strategy, your energy, your skill level. So if you want to go to that next level, what are you going to do? Are you going to go and buy yourself a new suit, a new outfit? Are you going to get a business coach? Are you going to start joining the gym? Are you going to read a book a day? Are you going to start yoga or meditation? Are you going to start shadowing a great agent? What are the things? So build yourself a plan that works for you. Maybe you get to the office a half hour earlier and work a half hour later. Anything, most people out there, it's not, Kevin, the matter of can you do it, it's knowing what to do and then just doing it. Because all that stuff, I've just mentioned those things, if you started doing those tomorrow, you'd triple your sales in the next 12 months if you did them every day. But it's a matter of starting them.
Hello and welcome once again to this week's auction update. Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic will join us in just a moment, and he tells us that bidders seem to have gone on a bit of a holiday. Back in just a moment.
Did you know you can save up to 70% on your staff costs by outsourcing the low-value, repeatable tasks so your team can focus on growing your business? Beepo is an outsourcing provider focused on the real estate industry. With an English-speaking, tertiary qualified and fully trained team in the Philippines, Beepo will give your business the boost it needs to start growing and returning value to you. For more information, visit beepo.com.au.
And joining me once again, Kevin Brogan from CoreLogic. G'day, Kevin. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, good. We saw the bidders go on a bit of a holiday over the weekend. Let's firstly bring up the stats. These are preliminary clearance numbers, and getting that weighted average getting very, very close to 50%, Kevin.
Yeah, look, the weighted average is a long way down, Kevin, but the reason I think is that it's not just bidders, it was vendors going on holiday. So Sydney and Melbourne very much reduced activity. And of course, in Queensland, without a public holiday, really quite a busy weekend in Brisbane. Unfortunately, with Brisbane returning only 23% clearance rate, when you combine the weighted average of those capital cities, it actually makes quite a big difference. And that's why we've seen it drop down so far.
Numbers certainly down in Sydney and Melbourne, but those clearance rates holding up over 60%. Do you think there's a likelihood they might fall below 60% by the time we get to the end of the week?
Look, I think that's certainly a possibility for Sydney. Melbourne, to be honest, the collection rate there and the fact that it's just a little bit higher means that it might just scrape above 60%. But, when you look at these figures on a holiday weekend, I think they're not inconsistent with the narrative of increased confidence in those two bigger markets. But, we really need to judge them in a series of auction weekends. So, next week when they come back online, the vendors, be interesting to see how that that works out.
We're going to take you into 6 of the top sales around the country a little bit later in the show. But before we do, we'll bring up our second graphic. This one looks at the combined capital cities, houses and units. Bit of a separation here too, 54% for houses, clearance, and 47% for units. Is that out of the ordinary, Kevin? They're normally a little bit closer than that, aren't they?
Yeah, look, and I think, as I mentioned before, it's the balance between the major markets. I mean, in Sydney, units have been doing pretty well because there are very real affordability constraints in that market. And a lot of entry-level, first-time buyers move to units out of necessity. Also in Melbourne, just the sheer volume of units in that market means that a significant proportion of sales are units. When you look at Brisbane, we've seen some supply issue pressures on unit prices, and that's worked its way through to the success rate at auction as well.
Okay, we'll go to the Sydney sub-regions. Firstly, look at Sydney and Inner South and also North Sydney and Hornsby. Two of the biggest numbers, but also very high success rates.
Yeah, look, those suburbs in particular, even through the softening of the market that we experienced for the sort of 15 months preceding the election, they were actually turning out some reasonable clearance rates when the rest of the sub-regions were heading south. And I think that's because, they were higher value owner-occupied or appealing to owner-occupiers, and that sort of kept the clearance rate up.
Okay, we'll take you to our top sale in Sydney. This one is in Oatley, 66 Marine Drive, $2,460,000. McGrath selling this one. Kieran and Luke, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2-car. This is a spectacular home cascading down the hill there. There's the house with a boathouse and also a rigging deck. Quite a spectacular home, this one, Kevin.
Oh, look, it certainly is, and I think, as you said, it's the views over Jewfish Bay that actually sell this one. It's in a really popular suburb. It's not one of the well-known suburbs outside of Sydney, but nonetheless, it's a highly sought-after location. Median price $1.65 million. And probably just over 100 sales each year in that locality. Yeah,
very close, tightly held, that one. I think a big bonus for this one is, of course, that jetty. Anything with a jetty, I would imagine, would attract a fairly good amount of interest, Kevin.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a property which has something as desirable and, as you say, tightly held as a jetty. Even in a soft market, there are going to be people who are looking out for that sort of thing, and when opportunity knocks, they'll head to the auction.
Top sale out of Melbourne was a penthouse. We'll take you to that in just a moment, but firstly, let's have a look at the sub-regions in Melbourne. Some good numbers in there, good consistently high numbers, but we're getting used to seeing that in Melbourne, Kevin.
Yeah, there is generally a lot more consistency. I suppose the surprise this week is the Inner East at 84.6% is a very robust result. But I mean, that was off quite low volumes for Melbourne.
Okay, well, top sale out of Melbourne is Toorak, $2,700,000. Kay and Burton selling this one. Andrew Smith, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car. As I said, it's a very elegant penthouse, nicely set. Beautiful outlook on this one too. Just having a quick look through some of the images here. A beautifully presented penthouse. This one, Kevin.
Oh, look, it certainly is, and with units in Toorak, they're relatively uncommon. I mean, Toorak is associated with sort of grand houses, so I'd hesitate to suggest this was entry level by any stretch, but certainly there's some very expensive real estate in Toorak. The statistics are interesting. I mean, the median price for units in Toorak is about $800,000. But to sort of put that in perspective, there are many units that would be significantly lower spec than this one. This is a very nice unit.
Indeed it is. Okay, well, we're going to take you on a bit of a trip around the country too. And also, I might just mention, Kevin, in the coming weeks, we're going to be looking at some interesting sales as opposed to just the top sales. And our good friends at CoreLogic are going to put some interesting properties together for us. It'll be good to look at them, Kevin, because it's so easy to feature just the top sales, but there are also there's some great work being done by many agents around Australia, not so much just at the top end, but being very creative about how they market some of these properties. So we'll have a look at those in the weeks to come. Just one more job for you, Kevin, another busy week.
Oh, look, absolutely. But I think you're spot on there, because the type of property that will traditionally do well at auction is one that has a unique or interesting characteristic. If the agent is fairly clear what the price is going to be, because there are lots of other properties just like it, many of those go to private treaty. But if you want to test the market and find out what people are willing to pay for something a bit unusual, auction's the way to go. So let's have a look at some of those.
Yeah, we'll certainly do that. We'll take you to where we're going, Canberra. This one has been sold by Hive, 86 Slim Dusty. Well, that would be Circuit, I would imagine, CCT, in Moncrief. 900,000. This is an entertainer's delight. Unusual brick construction, this one. Unusual with the colour. We don't see too many of that colour, that grey brick.
No, look, it is unusual. I mean, it may be that sort of colour has been subject to render when people have renovated the properties. So yes, it is slightly unusual. But again,
beautiful inside though, Kevin. It's extremely well presented.
It certainly is, and the median price in Moncrief is 750,000. Again, it's a well-regarded location, really quite popular, but that's a really good result. 900,000.
Yeah, elevated block, this one too. So I'd imagine that Moncrief. I don't know a lot about Moncrief, but it's because Canberra's really doesn't have a lot of hills, does it?
Oh, I've been there bushwalking out of Canberra.
Oh, okay.
I found a couple.
Okay, fair enough.
But yes, I think certainly views are something, as we saw with the one in Sydney. Views are something which really do add value to a property.
Yeah.
If you have them and others don't, it's going to get you noticed.
A replica Queenslander in Queensland, in Balmoral, recorded top sale there. Ray White at Bulimba selling this one for just a touch over $1 million, $1,050,000. Kim Cross and Kim Carr, and 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2-car. Not Kim Carr, Roger Carr. I'm sorry, Roger. 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car on 405 square metres. Postage stamp of a block, but fairly normal, the old style 16 perch block. This one's very high, once again, on Balmoral Hill, but these recreation Queensland is very, very popular.
Oh, look, they certainly are, and I mean, it's a cracking location. It's interesting, that's sold bang on the median price for Balmoral. But you're right. I mean, 16 perches takes me back to the day I'm old enough to do surveys with a 22-yard chain.
Yes. Yeah, very, very normal. Bit of a bonus if you can get two of them side by side to give you 32 perches or 600 odd square metres. But Roger Carr and Kim Cross selling that one. Well done, guys. Very high on Balmoral Hill. We're going to take you to Langs Bay now, and this one in Adelaide, sold by Harcourts, $940,000. Kay Smith and Ricky Bonici, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 4-car. A grand old lady. This one had me scratching my head a little bit because we've recorded it as 4/14 Kalgoorlie Road, but I don't know whether that's a mistake or not, but it just looks like a grand old home on a big block of land, Kevin.
Yeah, look, I'd have to look into that a bit further, but I think Largs Bay is one of those areas up around Semaphore, really has come into vogue. Used to be very much associated with sort of Port Adelaide and industrial and maritime, but now its proximity to the coast has really made it very popular for both living and also as a tourist destination.
And our final property today in the show, we're going to go across to Perth. And wow, what a magnificent sub-penthouse overlooking the Swan River, the Optus Stadium, 3-bedroom sub-penthouse, 2 bathrooms, 2 car. Brendan Haddock from Real Estate 88 selling this one for $1,160,000. 2501/237 Adelaide Terrace in Perth. Just beautiful outlook of this one. Also parkland right down in front. I've been to this area, Kevin. It's a lovely part of Perth.
Oh, look, it certainly is, and there's a lot of development going on down on the riverfront there as well. Look, this one's on the 25th floor, as you say. The commanding views a really big feature. But I think it's really interesting to note this one was actually purchased in 2013 for 1.45 million. So we've obviously seen the value come off a bit. And when it was originally marketed this time round, it was actually advertised at a shade under 1.5 million. So it goes to show that sort of state of the market in Perth. But nonetheless, I mean, that does seem in the current market to be a good result.
Very good. Excellent. Well, that's your wrap for this week. Kevin Brogan will be back again on Friday. We'll have a look at the auctions coming up this weekend. We're predicting a bit of an increase in numbers, given that we won't have a public holiday in Sydney and Melbourne.
Yes, absolutely. There will be an increase, but again, it is coming into the winter season. So what's going to be really interesting after this week is to see whether the confidence that we've been talking about has inspired vendors to come to market. This coming week's the last week of pre-election listed properties.
Excellent. Kevin Brogan, we'll look forward to talking to you again at the end of the week. Thank you very much for your wonderful insight, Kevin, and thanks to CoreLogic for bringing us all of these results as well. Kevin, we'll look forward to talking to you on Friday.
No problem. Thanks, Kevin.
Evening, Clara. Home, please.
David, what's on your mind?
I was just thinking of a different time is all. It was a time when I used to sit up there, you know. Driving wasn't just about being taken from place to place, but going somewhere. Feeling something along the way.
Please, David, you should relax.
I'm afraid that's just the problem.
David, where are you going? David? David?